Hi, I'm Sean Fit for Life, and I'm the creator of the Cold Feet podcast. It's a privilege to have you spending your important time watching our podcast today. I want to thank you for coming along and hope you learned something. Now you must be asking, why an ice bath? Why cold exposure? For three main reasons. Number one, accelerated fat loss. An ice bath can tap into your brown fat tissues and through that help you keep off fat as part of a greater healthy lifestyle in the long term. Number two, mental fortitude, and the reason why I interview everyone here on the show in the ice bath. If you're someone who can sit in the winter for 10 or more minutes in the ice bath, you're an amazing person and I want you on my show. Number three, increased recovery time. While it may not be beneficial to ice immediately after an injury, ice bathing can help as part of a greater recovery regimen. So grab a hot cocoa, stay warm, and enjoy the episode. We're going in. Let's do it. Okay, all the way to the chest, all the way. It's not even that cold yet because I didn't add the ice, so all is pretty chill. Nice. All good. Wait, careful of the microphone. Careful of the microphone. Yeah, there you go. All good. That was actually really funny. I appreciated that. Okay.
Chili in here?
Just chilling, right? We didn't add the ice yet, so all's good.
Just a drop chili.
Totally cool. Fantastic. Okay. All the way to your chest. And let's just add all the good stuff. Coolio. And that. And that. Should I add any of those?
No, please don't.
Okay.
Because that has exact dosage.
Sweet.
Hope I don't need it. Because weather does kind of affect this.
Hi, and welcome to the Cold Feet podcast. I'm Sean, Fit for Life, and I'll be your host for the day. And I have this beautiful privilege of training and coaching and working alongside with this special woman next to me. So can you please introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up? I'm Shmidman. Yes, just one name. Madonna, Beyonce, Shmidman.
What's your
It's cool like that.
second real name?
I
That
can
you
kill
never-
you.
that you never
but
go
then
by.
I'd have to kill you.
Well, we're kind of like on camera, so.
I don't know if I can tell everybody.
Alright, we'll just have to like...
Tune in for the postscript.
If
and,
you watch the whole thing, you can get her real name.
Maybe.
On you.
All right. So I'm pretty sure we're here today to talk about athletes with asthma, which is surprisingly a lot more common than you think. I'm pretty sure the last stats say that 3 to 10% of the population has exercise-induced asthma. Now, do you know the difference between regular asthma and exercise-induced asthma?
Why don't you explain the difference?
The difference, generally, is that asthma in general is, what's my word?
All good.
Sorry, the problem with being bilingual is that you can't speak either language.
Asthma in general is...
Brought on by a number of different effects, like allergens, air quality, the weather, all sorts of other things like pet dander, dust. And exercise-induced asthma is generally brought on only by exercise. Now, it has a lot of the same symptoms, so it's very hard to diagnose unless you go for a specific asthma test, or as what happened to me, I thought I was just really out of shape. So, give you a little bit of background on me.
Wait, you have asthma.
I have exercise-induced asthma.
That's why we're speaking about it today.
We are. It does not stop me from competing. It does not stop 40 to 50% of Olympians who compete with exercise-induced asthma. My sob story, when I was roughly 13 or 14 years
You mean
old.
your success story?
No, we'll get to that.
Oh, sweet.
First,
Okay.
my sob story. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I went on a school trip, and we were horsing around. I was sitting on a baby slide, and a friend of mine pushed me so I would go down, except I fell off the side, and I broke my ribs. Thought that was the end of that story.
Just like a tackle football season, nothing crazy.
No, totally. Thought that was the end of that story. Turns out it wasn't. When I was 16, I had gone back to my football team. We were working out, and I just felt ridiculously out of shape. No matter how much I was running, how much I was lifting, I could never catch my breath. My chest felt tight, and my teammates were starting to look at me. They're like, "What's going on?" So I went to my doctor. Turns out I had bronchitis, but thanks to my bronchitis, they discovered that I actually have exercise-induced asthma. So it's not that I was out of shape, it's just that my lungs didn't process air the same way as everyone else's.
Sweet. Can you elaborate a little bit on back to football practice? Could you give us some background on your football career and what you do?
Sure. I started playing football roughly when I was 12 or 13. I
By the
played
way,
flag football.
Flag football, not soccer, different sport. We're Americans with American
Play
pride.
football, not football.
Exactly.
I started playing when I was 12, 13. I made the national team at 16. And other than a short break for the Army, I've been playing around it ever since. I played defense for about 7 years, switched to the other side of the ball, where I'm very happy.
Are you also the rusher, the one who tries to
I
get
am
the
not.
quarterback? Not the
I
rusher.
snap the ball and then I go out as a wide receiver.
Wow. So we're talking to someone who plays for their country, not inherently, professional athlete, like you're not getting paid to play.
I am
We're-
not getting paid to play.
We're not
In
there
fact,
yet?
most seasons I pay to play.
This is called semi-pro. This is what I participate in as well, where we play for our country, or for the local teams. But we play it very competitively, and all the competition rules. I think we play college rules, correct? Or even like world.
Well,
or even like,
flag football has its own rules, but they mostly follow collegiate
right?
guidelines.
But we're not competitive athletes. But we still have to put in the same
We
investment.
are competitive athletes.
Sorry,
We're just not
professional athletes. Thank you for the clarification. We still have to invest the same time and same amount of time into strength conditioning, sport-specific stuff, ball work, recovery, nutrition, as a regular athlete does, because we're still beating up our body again and again. So tell us really what it's like. You're a national team athlete and you have asthma. You have a clear disadvantage because of asthma, not because of last week's
disadvantage.
podcast. Okay.
It is just a situation we have to live with. Could you actually hand me the
Yeah.
blue
So
inhaler
we
there?
got here
Just the blue one.
Schmidman's 2 inhalers. You get to
This one,
show us
thank you.
what's going on.
This is what's known as albuterol or salmeterol, which if you see anyone who has asthma, they're probably holding on to one of these. Fun fact, in 2002, the
Watch
Olympic...
out for the ice bath.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, by the way?
I'm great.
You're totally chilling?
Totally.
Hell yeah.
In 2002, the Olympic Committee actually decreed that these were illegal and you could not use them, which was
Because they're
huge-
steroids.
very minimal amount,
Okay.
which was a huge blow to every athlete that has asthma, because trust me, I've got like 10 of these floating around my house. They're everywhere. In 2010, they decided that you could actually use these inhalers as long as it's a very specific dose and you can't go over a certain amount or else you're just qualified. The other inhaler you require, thank you, is more of a corticosteroid. You inhale this every morning and it has a slow release throughout the day. And this one actually is illegal, so I might have to quit this before the tournament. But it is under review for a certain dosage to be allowed to athletes. What this essentially does is prevents my lungs from constricting the second I start to exercise.
Just explaining a little bit more into asthma, you could probably explain this more than me, but someone who has asthma, they basically have inflammation in their airways and their lungs, or a combination of both. And what happens then is, imagine you have normally this much room to breathe. When your muscles are either inflamed or constricted, your actual muscles, because that's what the airway is, you have less air to breathe. Now, I never had asthma, thank God, but I have had esophagitis, what's it called?
Sure.
And it's basically the same concept. The esophagus is swollen, so the esophagus is normally this size, and then food tries to get through, and it's narrower. It's extremely painful. So I really can't imagine living with your lungs constantly being narrowed, although in this year, maybe with the whole mask thing, maybe we got like a little glimpse of what's it like to
Not
be
even
oxygen
close, bro.
restricted. Okay,
Not
cool.
even close.
Well, I'm not so into masks anyways because I like breathing fresh air, so all is good. So now, I want to address a little bit about like the use of steroids in sports.
Yeah,
Even
sure.
though when I say steroids, I don't mean like growth hormone, testosterone. I mean steroids that are essential for your human function. The term steroid doesn't refer to like the Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sorry, he wasn't on steroids. Doesn't refer. Doesn't refer to the steroids like bodybuilders use to get super duper swole and look like walking anatomy charts. The term steroid refers to a hormone which has the ability to bypass the cell without restriction. So for example, there's millions and billions of cells in your body. Each cell has a membrane. The membrane is the bodyguard. He's the mall cop and says, nope, I don't want you, Mr. Hormone, because I don't need you right now. Whereas steroidal hormones, such as testosterone, growth hormone, what's the one in here?
It's a corticosteroid called, I don't know,
Yeah, exactly, that one.
whatever it says on there. There's a lot of letters.
So any steroidal hormone basically can bypass the membrane without any resistance. So that's why bodybuilders and athletes take these steroids, because even if your body is not inherently ready to receive the hormone or doesn't want it, you can just overload it with testosterone, growth hormone, and other performance enhancing and muscle enhancing or muscle growth enhancing steroids. But there's steroids in cream, there's steroids in inhalers, there's steroids in some pharmaceuticals, and athletes might need steroids for their hair, their skin, their lungs, and they're competing. And if they were to do a test, it would show up positive, which is a big problem. So that's this whole concept of asthma. So what you mentioned before is that you said it's not a disadvantage, it's just like part of your lifestyle. Do you feel that you have do you feel or you don't feel that you have a disadvantage over other athletes because of it?
Honestly, sometimes it feels like a disadvantage. When I see my friends who have no problem running a 300-meter shuttle run back and forth, and even though knowing I'm probably in better shape than some of them, I'm struggling by 50 yards down. It's not so much of a struggle. It's very mentally tough to be able to say to yourself, it's not that I'm not in shape, you can press it.
No.
It's not that I'm not in shape, I just have a different kind of being in shape than everyone else. Because when I'm struggling during those long runs, all I do is take a puff of Mr. Blue and, 5 minutes later, I'm good to go.
Well, you're still reliant on something that the average population doesn't need.
Unfortunately.
I got
yes.
you. Okay, so basically when I make your new series of agility, speed and agility, I none of those 300-meter sprints.
Yes, please God, no. We don't like long distance running.
Okay, can you give us some examples of famous athletes who are super successful career with
Absolutely.
asthma? Yeah, besides you, of course.
Besides me. In 2009, there was a picture of David Beckham that was going around. He was playing for the LA Galaxy of the MLS at the time, Major League Soccer in America. And it turns out that he had been dealing with asthma for many, many years.
Which type of asthma?
He didn't specify,
Okay.
but he said he had been dealing with it for years, and he just never brought it up because it wasn't an issue. Because if it's properly handled, then...
It's pretty cold. Holy shit. Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
what's here? Okay.
No, we don't, because I can, but my bad. So when your asthma is properly dealt with, it shouldn't deter you from doing anything. People like Kristi Yamaguchi, the Olympic figure skater, was told as a child when they discovered she had asthma that cold weather sports are terrible for asthma because it makes it much harder to breathe. But she fell in love with figure skating and went and did it anyway. Or people like Dennis Rodman, who suffered from terrible allergies and asthma, and for anyone who's seen The Last Dance, you know how far he's gone.
That's crazy. I think that, once again, I don't have asthma, so maybe I have no right to talk in this matter, but...
I'll correct you if you're wrong.
Sweet. I think that if someone has either a disability or a disadvantage, compared to the average human being, a lot of times it drives them to be even greater than them. So I'm an athlete and I'm also a coach, obviously, but speaking of the music world, someone I really look up to is Andrea Bocelli. If you're familiar, he's an Italian opera singer, probably one of the most famous in the world in the modern era. Yeah, I put it on for my clients a lot. So I think he became blind in an accident at the age of 6. You could correct me if I'm wrong, maybe he was born blind. And he's the most famous opera singer in the world at the time. And he's blind. And every single time he goes into stage, someone has to help him up the stage. So the way I look at it is...
Isn't Beethoven or Mozart blind and deaf? One of them.
Beethoven was deaf, I believe, which is crazy because he
felt the vibrations in his piano.
That's another example. But back to Andre for a second. He could have just been like, hey man, I'm blind. I'm just going to stay home and chill with my blind dog and eat good Italian food and whatever, and I'll just save my voice for myself. But he didn't, and he is the most successful or famous opera singer in the world. And it kind of shows you can either be, as you say in Hebrew, a Nebuch. How would they say Nebuch in English? You could be
words just don't translate.
You could just be like
Nebuch is Yiddish, not
you could be like a schlum. You could just be like, whatever, I won't, make something out of it. Or you can just be the very best. So you see all the time these amputees and people with without a limb, without a hand, without a who knows what, or some sort of genetic disability, and they're still crushing it because why not? And it's so inspiring for healthy human beings like us to an extent. I've had eczema my whole life, which is also an autoimmune disease. And we're still just crushing it because we realize that, hey, I can still be the greatest of all time. I can still give it my every freaking got, even if I have some sort of concept. So now...
It's not just finding a way to be the best. It's learning to adapt. I know I'm never going to be the fastest person on our team.
Right.
Your agility, speed and agility program,
accelerator.
dude, you have no idea. I'm so much faster than when I started. But even so, I know that over long distances, I'm never going to be able to hold that speed. So I found other ways to contribute.
Right.
I have a ridiculous vertical jump. You put that ball up there, I'm coming down with
It's
it. And
true.
if I don't, nobody else is going to either.
It's totally true. We can use the picture of your like crazy vertical and
That's
against
a good
Spain or something. We'll pop it up
Yeah.
there for the spoiler. Same concept by me. Like I would like to think I'm pretty athletic. I'm definitely not the best out there. I have a lot to grow, but I was never super good at ball skills, as in like as a football player. You know, catching, throwing, because it's like. Exactly, because it's something I never practiced, not because I'm bad at it, but it's something I didn't fine tune enough. Whereas defense, I came to the field and I'm like, I'm strong, I'm powerful, put me at the best position, and I went to linebacker and I just crushed it because first of all I practiced it, but also it was something that I naturally was good at. So instead of saying, let me try to be the best quarterback or receiver of all time, hey, what if I can be the best linebacker of all time, or what if I can be the best defensive player of all time? It's the same concept. Because we're already shamelessly plugging in the Speed and Agility program, so Shmidman here was the first athlete to purchase our Speed and Agility program. You can find the link in my Instagram bio, and I can link it in the comments below on YouTube. And I was like, yo, I'm putting together a Speed and Agility program. Try it out. She's like, I'm in. Zero qualms given because she trusts me as a coach, which I appreciate. And so why don't you tell us about it? You know, tell us how it is before you started it, how you felt doing it. Was it hard? You know, give us the.
Before I started it, or really this whole thing started because when I came to the combine at tryouts, I was telling you that I'm never going to be the fastest player on the field.
And I said you're wrong.
And you said I'm wrong, and you told me about this speed and agility program that you're putting together, and I said, of course I want to try it. If it can make me faster, I'm totally in. The first month was a little bit of a killer. It was some agility drills, some reaction drills, some just repetitive sprinting. I loved every second of it, even as I was cursing you out in my head when I ran 200
Not in her
sprints.
head, over WhatsApp.
That too.
Like, F you, Sean, I just ran 300 meters. I'm never talking to you again.
200 meters, and there was 4 of them. Thank you very much.
Second week. Alright, go ahead.
But at the end of the month, when I compared my first month scores with my second month scores, there was a significant improvement, and I'm assuming, or hoping, that at the end of this month,
Hell
same.
yeah.
Or just as an example, my 10-yard dash, which is just explosive power,
Acceleration, yeah.
has already dropped almost a full second from when I was first starting.
Yeah.
So clearly it works. So definitely hook up with Sean and try it because it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to be the fastest person on the field, but a lot faster than I used to be.
I have a really good line that I use with my youth soccer athletes, and they like it totally lost. They didn't understand it. They're also Israeli. I said, "You're never going to be fast. You're always good. You can always be faster. You're never going to be Usain Bolt because he's the fastest man in the world, or Barry Allen, the Flash, for the nerds out there.
Hell yeah.
Because we're just not them. We can get faster though. So if you're genetically fast, hell yeah, good for you. If you're, I wouldn't even say genetically slow, but if you're genetically challenged, or you know. Not the fastest person on the field, exactly, but you're good Jewish white boys or white girls like you, or both of us. So you can work at it. Now, speaking of speed and agility, I think what makes our program unique and why most people fail to get faster is that people usually just sprint. That's it. So like if you're going to any football coach, they'll be like, 30 to 100 yard sprints every practice. Now, I as a coach and a player, when coach says something, what do? What do you do when coach says something? You shut the F up and you do it. I don't care.
Just do it.
I don't care what I know or how much knowledge I know or how much whatever. If coach is saying I do it. So that means last year, every practice, I was running 1,300 yard sprints, and guess what? I came first every time. I'm not a receiver. I'm not the fastest person on the team. I sprint, but I don't sprint often. But I work on my sprint technique. I would say
that was
that's
by far the best part of the program was just training technique because I've been running for years and I know that I drag my feet. I never bring my knees up high enough. My feet are on the floor, and just by training the form for running as opposed to just repetitive sprinting, I have improved significantly. I've been watching videos of myself run. I tend to do that, so I can send it to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and just my form is improving, and that is definitely helping my speed.
100%. When it comes to sprinting specifically, we're not talking about change of direction yet. There's a few aspects. First of all, you have to be freaking strong. At the end of the day, you want your legs to move strong and powerfully. So if I'm weak, I don't use the weak word. If I'm not strong, I'm not going to be the fastest sprinter on the field. After you're strong and you have obviously good mobility in your hip and ankle specifically, good stability in your knee, and obviously good stability in your core as well, so you can run. You have to be powerful. You have to have the ability to move fast. And if you think of it, sprinting is the most it's the like prime epitome of power movement. You're moving your whole body as fast as you could. It doesn't beat that. But it's not the only element of sprinting. After the strength, power, mobility, you need to work on something called rate of force development. Rate of force development is commonly misunderstood and commonly misused. It's the ability to strike the floor as fast as you could, as hard as you could, and leave the floor. So all these like plyometrics that you have athletes doing, they have to be programmed with purpose. The purpose is hit, bound, hit, bound. That's exactly what plyos are for, to help you strike the floor better. And once you have all of that and you throw it into the package, you now practice the technique itself to make sure you're running perfectly. And you could take two people who have the exact amount of strength and power. The person who has better sprinting technique, he's basically utilizing the arsenal and tools that he has better. Now, once again, when I was running these sprints back in the field, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strongest, and I wasn't a receiver. Receivers are known to be like the fastest usually. Depends. But I was just killing them because I spent 8 months practicing my sprint technique and utilizing that sprint technique sprinting. So once again, we'll link the Speed and Agility, shameless plug-in, yeah? We'll link the Speed and Agility Accelerator in our in the comments below, and you can check it out. It's effective, it will make you faster. We got a live...
That said, that's only 90% of your speed. Because you coming in first was not just that you trained your running, it's 10% that you just wanted it.
Well, I did get the jersey for the outstanding person that practiced. Yeah, I mean, look, I was winded. I was sitting there like, and like, yo, Sean, I'm like, yeah, Brady, yo, right? You can relate to that after like 10 sprints, right? And then I was like,
I could do that after one.
Yes, I was like gone, but I was like, there was this big Russian dude. His name was Max. He was from Russia. He like power cleans like 300 kilo, and he's like absolutely killing it. And he's like, I beat this guy. I'm like, no way, you're not beating me. You're like triple my size. I just freakishly, I gave it everything I got, and I came first, and I was like, done. Power clean. Speaking of power cleans, triple extension. I made a post about it yesterday on Instagram. You saw the slow-mo sled walk. It was pretty cool. Bodyweight sled work. Triple extension, which is the act of simultaneously extending your hip, your knees, and your ankles, has gonna have the most carryover to your sprint because it's literally a sprint. So like Olympic weightlifting, weighted hex bar jumps, weighted dumbbell jumps, weighted squat jumps, even sled pushes, fast or slow, as long as they're focusing on extending the hip properly, like running, it's gonna have a carryover. And most people don't actually fully extend their hips when they run, or their knees not fully extending, or they're not, or they're heel striking, which slows them down. And that's the concept of sprinting. Cool. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? One last tip, maybe for other people out there with asthma who are struggling.
I'm not sure about a tip, but I do have a quote. That's me. Quote for every occasion.
I was going to say, if you want to succeed as badly as you want to breathe, get it? Hey! But I saw your quote. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. No, I have a different one. I don't even remember what season this was. There's an old show called The Biggest Loser. Is that still on?
I hope not, because body shaming, bro.
Horrible show.
And every person who was on The Biggest Loser that won gained all their weight back. Why?
Absolutely. Because they were consistent.
And they didn't work on habits. They said, oh, let me lose weight as fast as I could instead of working on habits, so I hope that show's gone.
But there was one contestant, this must have been, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, by the name of Roger. And I didn't like everything that happened on that show, but he did say something that stuck with me. Said, I may not be the strongest, and I may not be the fastest, but you gotta work damn hard if you're gonna work harder than me. And when you have asthma, you can't just accept it as, okay, I have asthma, I'm just going to be able to do what I do. You got to work damn hard to prove you can do more than what anybody else expects.
I think that's why I like Ray Lewis so much.
Oh, yeah.
He was like a beast of nature. He's like, in my opinion, one of the best linebackers of all time. He was strong, he was big, he was fast. But he just had this mentality, like, what does it say? It's in the gym, 1 second. The hardest thing to do is work hard when no one is watching. He just had this like work hard mentality, and when he tore his tricep from the elbow, literally the doctor's like, I'm gonna put my fingers between your hand, and the doctor's like, yeah, you're done, bro. And he's like, what are you talking about? My friends are on the field, and he walked back on the field with a torn elbow. Like, that's like psycho level. That's like, hey, I don't care. I care about my winning and my friends, and that's it. And that's like, maybe it sounds like crazy, but that's the mentality you need to play in the Olympics. Like, you need to be a psychopath to compete against people to improve that 0.1 millisecond
to work for 4 years to run for 8 seconds in a 100-meter dash. Like, only seconds.
It's crazy. All right, so Schmidt.
Yo.
What's your first name?
Can't tell you.
All right, so I didn't say anything. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
It's such a privilege, and you finally are graced with a Sean Fit for Life shirt. So this is the ones you requested, right? Tactical athlete?
No, the other one. That one.
Okay, so can you grab it? Okay, so we got Tactical Athlete, shameless plug-in. You're welcome to purchase them. Okay, Sean Fit for Life.
This one.
We got this one, but only Coach has this one. I ate deadlifts for breakfast. And we got your workout. What does it say? Strong and functional.
No, this is the one I want.
She's the one you
Your
want. So
workout is my warm-up.
this shirt is now yours because
Yay! Thank you.
you came on the show and you definitely earned it for all your hard work as an athlete. Don't get it wet, and that's it.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming abroad.
My pleasure.
And how is the? You want to like dip into like you want to dip in your face real quick for fun?
Sure.
The brave one, all the way, and just hang out there for a bit.
Oh,
How do you feel?
my head
You
is
can like
so
hang out here if you want. It's totally cool. Alrighty, that's all for us. See you all next episode.
cool. Okay, my foot fell asleep.